Um,
Whoop whoop! This is MC Starman. I'm talking to you from Duncan on Vancouver Island. Gorgeous sunny day. We just had our full moon and we're doing a Mars report. We're going to try to give you a real good understanding of the importance of Mars in your own process of individuation, but also what it's doing in the next 3 or 4 months and how to really take advantage of the times. I have my trusty sidekicks with me, Alan
Hello.
Churchill, and here we are, Alan. How you feeling the time?
Yep. I'm excited for this actually because we just went through it a little bit just to see what's coming on.
We actually had a rehearsal on this one, you guys.
For the first time. And it's kind of got me a little energized, and I am feeling that a little bit actually. Energized, sort of fresh energy coming through. It's quite. We've run through these dates, and it's kind of hectic, I think. Kind of full on energy coming up.
Well, it's going to be interesting for those of you who are going to follow this reading to see the importance of Mars through this crisis, and it really, the integration of Mars as the personal will, at my personal need to individuate. So in Jung's alchemical work, Jung talks about the Mars. The alchemist talks about Mars as the planet responsible for going into the world. So you got the sun, and then you got the arrow out. So then from the ancients' perspective, we still have the system of astrology that we use as a geocentric system. Geocentric means the earth is in the center. And then we have the moon first, then Venus, then Mercury, and then the sun. And so the moon turns around, and then from our perspective, the sun turns around. So we have all of these, and then we've talked extensively about Mercury and Venus and their retrograde cycle. So now we're going to explain how the retrograde cycle works for outer planets. And so what happens, every planet after the sun, it is in a relationship to us, the earth, in such a way that every planet that is in opposition to the sun, except, of course, the moon, Mercury, and Venus, every other planet, if it's in opposition to the sun, it's moving retrograde. Everything that's in opposition to the sun moves retrograde. And so we just went through
past the sun. Yeah.
Everything past the sun, all of those planets, when they're in opposition, they move. And so we're going to explain to you how that cycle works. So Mars has a 2-year cycle. And so we're going to kind of do that in real time. We have our dates here. On September 1st, 2019, we had a conjunction, the last conjunction of Mars and Pluto and the sun in Virgo. So we have the Sun-Mars conjunction in Virgo, September 1st, 2019. That's the beginning of the cycle. That's the new moon. The new moon, the beginning. Mars, sun, Mars is the will, sun is the expression of who I am in my masculine glory, what I'm seek to project into the world. So Mars, sun, so you can look back. What was happening for me in that conjunction? So September 2019, what was going on? And so that was the last. So now, fast forward. So the sun moves a little faster than Mars, so boom. It got going, it got going, it got going, it got going. And the sun passed. And then,
stop here.
About right here. So this was March 2020. We have Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. We've been talking about Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto triple conjunction. We've been talking about that, and we're going to continue to talk about that. Our next post is going to be about the Jupiter, Saturn conjunction and how the alchemists dealt with that. And so we're going to talk about that. But then in March 2020, the real heighten of our crisis starting Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, the individual will confronted with Pluto, death and rebirth, Saturn, my discipline, Jupiter, what I'm here in the world to do, you know, a real confrontation, a crisis of global proportion begins. Then we go fast forward, and then we arrive. Whoops. I think you want to. Oh yeah. That's right. So then.
About 10 degrees Virgo, I think that was.
September 10th, 2020, we have Mars turns retrograde. Now, Mars has been retrograde in Aries. Mars rules Aries. So Mars is very strong in Aries, and Mars is spending over 6 months of the year in Aries, and it started, we should have done that research, but anyway, so it started at the end of August, actually earlier than that, because when it turns retrograde, it's at the 28th degree, so it spent a whole month and a half going through Aries already, and so now it returns retrograde. In the process of that, as it was moving direct, it made a square to Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. It's still in the process of doing that. And on the 10th, it goes back, and then it started, and right now, we're in the second wave.
So at that 28 degrees there, you're saying it was just about to form a 120 degree.
And that's whenever an outer planet turns retrograde, it's going to be reaching about 128, 130 degrees elongation, getting close to the sun. And now what happens is it turns retrograde, and then the sun moves in, and on October 14th, we have the conjunction. So we want all you to remember October 14th. On the 16th, we have a new moon. On the 14th, also Mercury turns retrograde. And then we have a direct opposition of Sun, Mars, and Pluto in a T-square within 1 degree, and Jupiter, Saturn forming this incredible tension. And so
I just don't want to confuse people with these as to where they're not actually there at this time. So
yeah, we're gonna when we do the next new moon, we're gonna get into this more. But so now we're in the current. What's gonna happen, with the next new moon? Of course, actually we know it's gonna be a new moon on the 16th, right? So we're gonna have this. And then we also know that Mercury is going to be turning retrograde right at that time. Okay, so then, so we know quite a few things, and we'll look at this chart further on our next post. Anyway, we got lots of information for you. So in terms of this role that Mars has been playing, we saw from the conjunction in 2019 to Mars's conjunction with with the Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, and then to the first set of squares. So this is really important. Whenever an outer planet transits something, and you can see that the further you go, these transits are being felt. So a transit meaning to travel, okay? So we had one pass, conjunction with all 3 planets. Come over here, it turns retrograde. So the first square with each, then the second square with each, and then turns direct the 3rd square with each. So we're looking at 3 squares, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, the first pass, the first is it's kind of the initiation to what's going on. Whenever a planet, an outer planet, moves over a personal planet, you feel the trigger, and so then it comes as a shock, like we had in March. Well, March we had the first quarter.
When was the square? Do you remember?
The square was at the end of August, beginning of September.
Right.
So now we're at the end of September, beginning of October. We're going to the second one. So the second one, it's when the planet moves retrograde, and that's really usually felt as oh, that's what that was about. You know, we are confronted with what we felt first when Mars was going direct. Now we're reviewing it. And then when Mars turns direct again and does the third square, then that's the third aspect, is the integration part. And so then that's going to be really important. And also, in terms of what was started in 2019 and the conjunction of the Sun and Mars, now it's the full moon. So whatever was started in 2019, on September of 2019, now it's really being triggered into. It's interesting, huh? This is when I left my home.
Right.
This is where I left my home to come out to the island. And then now it's kind of, we're going to the culmination of that process. Interesting. So it really can see it in my own life. And so then this particular conjunction, it's the full moon. It's the halfway point. And again, it will be an exact key square to Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn.
And just to clarify, when you're saying full moon, you're meaning a full moon in relationship to Mars' sun.
Yes.
So as if this was the moon's sun, but Mars' sun.
Exactly.
So that's the opposition that we're experiencing on the 14th of October.
Exactly. And with Mars in Aries, very strong there. So my sense is that whatever's been building since September of last year, and then also, through March of this year, now what we're going through, we got the first, squares done. We're in the process of doing the second squares just for your dates, for you. So we have, at the end of September, we have Mars-Saturn square, so that's done, just finishing. Then Mars-Pluto square is from the 8th, 9th, and 10th of October. Then Mars-Jupiter, 18th, 19th, and 20th of October. So that is liable to be quite intense, but again, it's the review mode, right? So Mars is turning, has turned back. And then we reach the opposition of the Sun, and then it's at a new moon, and then right on that day, Mercury turns retrograde. So whatever happens from now, we're on the waning side of the moon, and so this time leading to the new moon on the 16th, and then pay attention to the 14th, because whatever's going on in your process of individuation really will be accentuated by the times that we're going through. And then to me, and we'll talk about this later, but then we're going to really see Mars play a really important role at the end of the year. So then on December 22nd and 23rd, Mars will make the last square to Pluto. Mars, then on January 13th and 14th, at the beginning of Aquarius, Mars and Saturn are going to be in square.
At the beginning of
January 2021.
At the beginning of Taurus.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we have Mars, Jupiter. So Mars and Saturn and Jupiter will have moved into Aquarius. So the first square to Mars, Saturn, and then Mars, Jupiter, And then we have a conjunction of Mars-Uranus, the great revolutionary versus, and I see, a real shift of energy where Pluto was really the main guy, kind of creating the death and the rebirth. Now we're moving into Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars, all in alignment with Uranus, the great revolutionary.
And this is January.
This is January and the next few months leading to it. So the tension seems to be kind of leading to a release, kind of a pushback, kind of a time of enlightenment. Uranus is the great shock, and so Mars. So at the beginning of the year, we start the year in 2021 with a Mars-Uranus conjunction in square to the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. We'll talk about that later. But that's kind of, the extended forecast and the role of Mars. How does that feel to you, man?
Yeah, there's a lot going on there with Mars, but obviously I think it's I mean, with everything going on, there seems to be a lot of warrior energy happening, right? A lot of, like you say, individuation. People are starting to, you've got this cancel culture coming up where people are saying, you got to do this or do that, and calling people out for the things they're doing wrong, and really starting to own who you are and stand up for who you are and what you believe in, right?
Well, the role of Mars is really important, but what if you don't really want to play the Martian? Then what happens?
Right. Well, you could end up, the shadow side of it maybe comes in, right?
Well, or you can project the Martian on another.
Onto others.
And then you can complain and you can see, look at their aggressivity, look at their, and so the, this Mars energy, you can't avoid it. You either own up to your power or you give your power away. And so in the light of all of this tension, what do? Do we own our power and we say, well, this is what I can do to be the change that I want to see in the world?
Right.
That's the role of Mars in Aries, to individuate, to become, no, I am not this insanity. I am the solution to the problem. I'm not part of the problem. Or if we don't live Mars, then we point at the problem and we point at the actors and we give our power away. And so then in that sense, that very, very strong Mars is encouraging us to own up to the power that we have in these times of crisis.
You can really see that in the politics of the time. Everyone says bad things about the other and never really says what they are about.
Exactly.
Right? And to bring that into yourself, and instead of me saying, oh, it's the politics,
right,
bring it into myself and say, okay, how can I show up differently?
Exactly.
How can I bring my power to
and in terms
reality?
of an objectivity, we get caught up in all of the mass media stuff and all of the happenings that are going on in the world, and the particular way of thinking that the media is pushing on us, and then the opposite perspective, which is which seems to be that both sides of the debate are kind of off. It's like the balance is somewhere in the middle, and I think the balance lies in the individual. It's what and at this time, it's been a long time into the crisis. We've been seeing it, we've been feeling it, and really, it seems to me that in the next 3 or 4 months, as things really develop, and as this, the opposition, the T-square, and then the Mars, Uranus, and all of these angles that we're seeing, we're going to be given an opportunity to speak our voice, to speak what it is that we're about. And that is, a very courageous thing. But also, it's, the Saturn, Pluto, and we'll talk about this, at the end of December, we have the Saturn-Jupiter exact conjunction, which is a 20-year event. and which is also will be in square to Mars. That's going to be really a powerful event in terms of the rebuilding of the world, and so from an objective perspective, our world has been brought down to its knees, and with that is great opportunity to, one, in ourselves, become more fully who we are, and then two, unite in communities and create the change that we want to see in the world. Really a powerful opportunity.
As I've watched through this and kind of felt into it, I'm seeing this whole Mars as like a tug of war, like almost like a birth, like trying to squeeze out this new thing, like crack outside the egg. And then as Mars, hits this Uranus, so Uranus, for those that don't know, all planets turn on a certain axis except Uranus, which turns on a completely different axis, which is the individual in itself, right? It's like, I'm different, I'm going to do this differently. And so with this Mars coming up to that in January, I see that as the culmination of this like tug of war and this battle that's going on internally, to finally come out of your shell. And
that will kind of set the tone, and then Jupiter also makes at the beginning of the year an exact square.
So expansion and truth and faith.
The first new moon and the first full moon in January, Jupiter is in square to Mars, into square to Uranus, and then Saturn also. And then Saturn makes 3 squares to Uranus during the course of 2020.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And both of them are the ruler of Aquarius. And we're going to do a video on the age of Aquarius and the meaning of these, and then how Pluto will come into Aquarius in 2024. So we have lots to explore yet. We're trying to bring astrology back to so that you can see it. Yes, our posts are more complex than others. We're definitely not, surface astrology. We're trying to get you a bird's eye view, literally, of how this system functions. And yes, it is a little bit complex, but as you get to continue to watch our videos, continue to watch, gradually you'll get to understand it.
And you can always pause the video and check out these dates for yourself as well and see what this relates to.
So September 1st, 2019 was the beginning of the cycle. September 10th, Mars went retrograde. October 14th, Mars opposition to the Sun. November 13th, Mars turns direct. And then the conjunction of the Sun and Mars is not till October 8, 2021, which is the beginning of the next cycle.
It's the full cycle round.
Exactly. This was fun. I'm sure we went through a lot of information. Please do, if you have some questions, do ask away. And then we're up to 152 subscribers on the channel, and we're going to keep over the fall here, and as this unfolds, we're going to get more dedicated to giving you quality insight so that you can remain objective and that you can move into these times with the power of Mars. And then you're feeling that big time because of all your planets in Aries, huh?
So much going on. I'm trying to, I don't know if anyone's interested in this, but I'll say it anyway. I have my Mars, Venus, and what else is there? Mars, Venus. Oh man, why have I forgotten this right now? Anyway, I'm trying to break those 3 down into, I'm noticing all those energies come at once.
Chiron.
Nope. Chiron's in Taurus for me.
Oh.
Mars, Venus.
That's fine.
Whatever. Anyway, I want to break them down and say, okay, separate these out and do this energy on its own and really give that some attention, and then this attention, and because they all kind of come together and I get kind of overwhelmed by it.
Right.
So I'm trying to break that down and to see what they all mean. So trying not to get triggered all at once by everything happening, and trying to see the different aspects of myself and giving those attention individually, right? So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see.
And so what we're doing here is that, see, you can see the movement of the planets, and you can see as we do what is the transit astrology, wherever your own chart planets are being triggered, that's how you're going to feel those times. So if you have any planets in Aries, in Libra, in Capricorn, even in Cancer, those planets are going to be triggered. And if you want to know your planets, you can just, give us a buzz, or, send us an email, and we'll help you find your chart. And then, of course, we do readings as well. These times are super important, and it's so important that we have an educated perspective to the times, and that we make educated choices as to how we're going to manage what is ahead. It's crucial for all of us to know that there's a way that we can make the best out of this. And as the tensions, it's kind of, I was thinking about it, in terms of the whole history of the crisis, something's got to give. And watch October 14th, watch the next few months, watch these angular relationship, and keep watching the MC Starman video. We're in it together.
Ironically, it's Mercury that I forgot about. My thought process.
Well, that's amazing, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And are they later in the sign?
Right in the middle, pretty much.
Yeah. So Mars turns direct at 15. So you're really being activated, huh?
Yeah, totally. So everybody check out your own planets and see what's aspecting and what's going on for you.
Cool. And then next week we're going to do the new moon on the 16th, and we'll talk about these alignments, but we'll look at them in a specific chart. And then the post after that, we'll do a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, the Maxima Conjunctio. And so we'll keep them coming. Share, please. And pass it around and get people to subscribe to our channel. And thank you for supporting MC Starman. Whoop, whoop, whoop.